The Little Match Girl. It was terribly cold and nearly dark on the last evening of the old year, and the snow was falling fast. In the cold and the darkness, a poor little girl, with a bare head and naked feet, roamed through the streets. It is true she had on a pair of slippers when she left home, but they were not of much use. They were very large, so large, indeed, that they had belonged to her mother, and the poor little creature had lost them in running across the street to avoid two carriages that were rolling along at a terrible rate. One of the slippers she could not find, and a boy seized upon the other and ran away with it, saying that he could use it as a cradle when he had children of his own. So the little girl went on with her little naked feet, which were quite red and blue with the cold. In an old apron, she carried a number of matches and had a bundle of them in her hands. No one had bought anything for her the whole day, nor had anyone given her even a penny. Shivering with cold and hunger, she crept along. Poor little child, she looked the picture of misery. The snowflakes fell on her long, fair hair, which hung in curls on her shoulders, but she did not regard them. Lights were shining from every window, and there was a savory smell of roast goose, for it was New Year's Eve. Yes, she remembered that. In a corner, between two houses, one of which projected beyond the other, she sank down and huddled herself together. She had drawn her little feet under her, but she could not keep off the cold, and she dared not go home, for she had sold no matches and could not take home even a penny of money. Her father would certainly beat her. Besides, it was almost as cold at home as here, for they had only the roof to cover them, through which the wind howled, although the largest holes had been stopped up with straw and rags. Her little hands were almost frozen with the cold. Ah! Perhaps a burning match might be some good if she could draw it from the bundle and strike it against the wall, just to warm her fingers. She drew one out. Scratch! How it sputtered as it burned! It gave off a warm, bright light, like a little candle, as she held her hand over it. It was really a wonderful light. It seemed to the little girl that she was sitting by a large iron stove with polished brass feet and a brass ornament. How the fire burned! And it seemed so beautifully warm that the child stretched out her feet as if to warm them. When all the flame of the match went out, the stove vanished, and she had only the remains of the half-burnt match in her hand. She rubbed another match on the wall. It burst into a flame, and where its light fell upon the wall, it became as transparent as a veil, and she could see into the room. The table was covered with a snowy white tablecloth, on which stood a splendid dinner service and a steaming roast goose, stuffed with apples and dried plums. And what was still more wonderful was that the goose jumped down from the dish and waddled across the floor, with a knife and fork in its breast, to the little girl. Then the match went out, and there remained nothing but the thick, damp, cold wall before her. She lit another match, and then she found herself sitting under a beautiful Christmas tree. It was larger and more beautifully decorated than the one she had seen through the glass door at the rich merchant's. Thousands of tapers were burning upon the green branches, and colored pictures, like those she had seen in the show windows, looked down upon it all. The little one stretched out her hand towards them, and the match went out. The Christmas lights rose higher and higher, till they looked to her like the stars in the sky. Then she saw a star fall, leaving behind it a bright streak of fire. Someone is dying, thought the little girl, for her old grandmother, the only one who had ever loved her and who was now dead, had told her that when a star falls, a soul is going up to God. She again rubbed a match on the wall, and the light shone around her. In the brightness stood her old grandmother, clear and shining yet mild and loving in her appearance. "Grandmother," cried the little one, "oh, take me with you. I know you will go away when the match burns out. You will vanish like the warm stove, the roast goose, and the large, glorious Christmas tree." And she made haste to light the whole bundle of matches, for she wished to keep her grandmother there. And the matches glowed with a light that was brighter than noon, and her grandmother had never appeared so large or so beautiful. She took the little girl in her arms, and they both flew upwards in brightness and joy far above the earth, where there was neither cold nor hunger nor pain, for they were with God. In the dawn of morning, there lay the poor little one, with pale cheeks and a smiling mouth, leaning against the wall. She had been frozen to death on the last evening of the year, and the New Year's sun rose and shone upon a little corpse. The child still sat, in the stiffness of death, holding the matches in her hand, one bundle of which was burned. She tried to warm herself, said some. No one imagined what beautiful things she had seen or into what glory she had entered with her grandmother on New Year's Day. Summary. On the last evening of the old year, a poor little girl roamed through the streets with bare feet and a bundle of matches in her hands. She had lost her slippers and had no money for the day. As the lights were shining and the smell of roast goose filled the air, she huddled herself together, unable to keep off the cold. One match she drew from the bundle gave her a warm, bright light, resembling a stove with polished brass feet and a brass ornament. The fire burned, and the little girl stretched out her feet as if to warm them. Another match she rubbed on the wall gave her a light that became transparent, revealing a room with a splendid dinner service and a steaming roast goose. The Christmas lights rose higher and higher, and the little girl saw a star fall, leaving behind a bright streak of fire. Her grandmother, the only one who had ever loved her and was now dead, told her that when a star falls, a soul is going up to God. The little girl asked her grandmother to take her with her, knowing she would go away when the match burned out. She made haste to light the whole bundle of matches, and her grandmother appeared so large and beautiful. They both flew upwards in brightness and joy far above the earth, where there was neither cold nor hunger nor pain, for they were with God. In the dawn of the morning, the little girl lay frozen to death, still holding the burned matches in her hand. No one imagined what beautiful things she had seen or into what glory she had entered with her grandmother on New Year's Day. Meaning and lessons learned from the story of The Little Match Girl. The Little Match Girl is a short story by Hans Christian Andersen that was first published in 1845. The story revolves around a poor young girl who is trying to sell matches on a cold New Year's Eve. She is barefoot, poorly dressed, and desperately trying to earn money to support herself and her family. The narrative takes a poignant turn as the girl, unable to go home because her father would be angry that she did not sell any matches, seeks warmth and comfort by lighting matches. In the light of each match, she experiences visions of warmth, love, and happiness. However, each match's flame eventually extinguishes, leaving her in the cold and darkness. The story conveys several profound meanings and lessons. 1. Poverty and injustice. The little match girl represents the plight of the poor and downtrodden. Her desperate circumstances highlight the harsh realities of poverty and the lack of compassion in society. 2. Compassion and empathy. The story prompts readers to reflect on the importance of empathy and compassion. The indifference of those passing by, who do not help the girl, serves as a critique of a society that often turns a blind eye to the suffering of others. 3. Imagination as a coping mechanism. The girl's use of her imagination to find solace and escape from her grim reality is a poignant aspect of the story. It illustrates the human capacity to find hope and comfort even in the direst circumstances. 4. Harsh realities of life. The extinguishing matches symbolize the fleeting nature of joy and the harsh realities of life. The story serves as a reminder that life can be fragile and that not everyone has the privilege of a warm and loving existence. 5. Appreciation for life's blessings. The Little Match Girl encourages readers to appreciate the blessings they have and not take basic comforts for granted. It prompts reflection on the importance of gratitude for the warmth, love, and security that many people enjoy. 6. Social critique. Andersen's tale serves as a social critique, shedding light on societal issues such as poverty, inequality, and the lack of social support systems. It challenges readers to consider their role in creating a more compassionate and just society. In summary, The Little Match Girl is a powerful and poignant story that explores themes of poverty, compassion, imagination, and the harsh realities of life. It encourages readers to reflect on their own lives, appreciate their blessings, and consider how they can contribute to a more compassionate and empathetic society. This content is mainly for the purpose of learning English vocabulary, English grammar, and English sentence structure. We are learning American English. A sincere thank you to everyone who watched. Thank you for considering subscribing to see more exciting videos.